You've likely heard the phrase that movement is medicine, and this applies perhaps even more to individuals with mobility disabilities. Movement can assist with contracture management, cardiovascular and respiratory health, strength and endurance, activities of daily living, bone density, bowel and bladder health, as well as pressure sore and pain reduction. You'd be incorrect to assume that standing and assisted walking is less important for those who use manual or power wheelchairs to ambulate. Even if the goal of training is not to walk independently, standing provides a variety of global health benefits. Standing is essential for individuals with spina bifida, as maintaining bone health is crucial. Many people with spina bifida use standing frames, and incorporating regular standing sessions should be encouraged. Standing not only supports bone density, but also improves circulation, digestion, and overall physical well-being, making it an integral part of a well-rounded health and fitness routine. However, don't assume that an individual with spina bifida who predominantly uses a wheelchair wants or even needs to be able to walk, or that is important to them. In many cases, wheelchair use provides a degree of freedom that walking on crutches can't. Have a conversation with your client about whether they experience any pain when walking with crutches that they don't experience when ambulating with their chair. Find a balance between understanding the importance of standing for bone health and contracture management, while also appreciating the challenge that it might provide for the client. It's also important to recognize the time cost of everything that you do in the gym. If you only see a client twice a week for 45 to 60 minutes, you don't want to allocate a large percentage of their training time simply to walking if it is not applicable to their goals or something that they enjoy. The gym can already be intimidating enough to new clients with or without disabilities. Find the balance between pushing them out of their comfort zone while also helping them feel comfortable and confident. And as always, make sure that your exercise selection is catered to the client's specific goals. The ability to walk will be predominantly dictated by motor level. In Hoffer and colleagues' 1973 study that defined these motor levels, none of the 56 participants with thoracic level lesions walked independently, while all of those with sacral level lesions were able to. For those with myolamingocele levels L3 to L5, muscle strength in childhood was not predictive of adult ambulatory status. So while this research cites that quadricep strength has a strong correlation to adult walking, you can't extrapolate that information to conclude that strengthening this musculature would lead to independent walking for all motor levels of spina bifida. It appears to be a more accurate predictor for those below S1. To quote Yasmai's paper from 2007, children with sacral and low lumbar myolamingocele had walking performance similar to typically developing children, despite a common need for braces and assistive devices. Children with mid to high lumbar myolamingocele were less active, which may lead to heightened risk for secondary health conditions, in addition to those associated with myolamingocele. Implications for rehabilitation. Obesity, muscle weakening, and disuse osteoporosis are issues for those with myolamingocele, all of which are affected by walking activity. Understanding activity levels and intensity in children and adults with myolamingocele may aid in developing focused rehabilitation interventions and strategies. Regardless of motor level, in an observational study of 53 individuals, the authors found that individuals with spina bifida are less active than their peers. The discrepancy is even more significant on the weekends since kids have more opportunity to be active during school, which was a trend seen in the literature on physical activity trends in other disabled populations as well. This makes creating opportunity for daily physical activity of the utmost importance and stresses the importance of creating community-based fitness facilities and recreation opportunities that will allow individuals with spina bifida to participate in health and fitness programs regularly. Research helps us identify trends and problems that need to be addressed, but doesn't always trace them back to the root cause or provide a solution. That is one of the tasks that we hope to accomplish here. In the literature, we see that physiologically, individuals with spina bifida have demonstrated a lower resting metabolic rate, and we know that across all populations, that body composition, specifically the ratio of body fat mass versus skeletal muscle mass, influences this metric. So we would question whether this lower RMR is due to the client's spina bifida, or is a byproduct of lower physical activity levels, more sedentary behavior, and poor nutritional habits. In another paper, a 23-study systematic review, individuals with spina bifida were shown to have lower cardiorespiratory endurance, lower muscle strength, higher body fat, and mobility restrictions compared to their peers. These factors affect resting metabolic rate as well. We'd be curious to see how this metric changes when individuals are able to participate in a comprehensive strength training program. Obesity rates in adults with spina bifida have been reported to be between 30 and 50%. It is likely that these numbers actually underestimate the problem in the population since BMI was designed with non-disabled populations as a reference point. But like most statistics on health and disability, we tend to believe that this is less so a predisposition due to the diagnosis itself and more so a byproduct of the lack of opportunity to live a more active life. However, this still necessitates a conversation about nutrition and energy intake, as wheelchair users have a lower energy expenditure due to resting posture and the greater mechanical advantage of rolling over walking. As a result, nutritional intake can't be based on recommendations intended for non-disabled populations. But if body weight, skeletal muscle mass, and body fat mass are equated between an individual with and without spina bifida, are they still predisposed to a lower resting metabolic rate? This is a metric independent of physical activity levels, so if not, then this becomes less of a correlation with the diagnosis and more so with the physical activity levels and fitness opportunities present. And if this is the case, then you and I have the opportunity to address that. The medical model of disability would ask, what physical characteristics of spina bifida are responsible for these discrepancies in health and fitness levels? That is, of course, essential to know, but if we apply a social model lens to the same research question, we should ask ourselves what barriers in the environment, whether physical or social emotional, and programmatic policies are preventing individuals with spina bifida from accessing the same health and fitness opportunities as their non-disabled peers. This shifts the responsibility from the individual and the characteristics they are unable to change to the aspects of the world that they live in that we can. As our friend Stephanie Kaufman writes in her book, Disability is Human, some people are looking for answers, I'm looking for good questions. So I'd ask myself, if I could create a fitness program that welcomes and properly supports clients with spina bifida, are they likely to see substantial health and fitness improvements? The consensus throughout the literature would say yes, that exercise does improve muscle strength and cardiorespiratory endurance, but we need to identify their specific barriers to participation.